Nicki, how are you, my friend?
Hey buddy, how you doing? Good, good.
I'm
Thanks a lot.
I'm good. I'm super stoked to talk to you today because you are the first athlete on my show.
That's I'm very humbled that you say that, and I'm very humbled to be here, as well as sharing that dialogue with you on some hopefully interesting topics.
Totally, man. I'm super excited. I mean, I can't wait to really talk to you about that stuff that you are dealing with and how we can encourage other people. So where are you right now? You're in Germany, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm back at home, working from home. We are
Yeah.
still allowed, or always have been allowed, to run around the parks and the streets, which is good and much
Mhm.
appreciated from my end, especially. But yeah, home office, and probably will be getting back into the office by the beginning of June. Right.
How are you keeping yourself busy before, after home office? What are you doing in your free time then?
Well, so normally I still kind of try to start off my day with running as I normally always do. I still kind of wake up in the morning and then I go for my training run before work. Just logging a few kilometers then, and then whether again doing Corona or not Corona, then I'll just go to the office. Sometimes, if possible, then I try to get another session in during lunch, and then just kind of working away towards the evening into the night, and then we'll kind of do it all over again, I suppose. So not much has changed in terms of my routine, I suppose, but I try to be in general actually a bit more conscious and try also to add something to it, be a bit more aware about some of the training that I do, try to change it up a little bit, try to add some new things to the routine, like some meditation, some
Right.
better stretching, some core training. Yeah, I guess just trying to keep busy as we're all in the same situation, I suppose.
Right. So when did you start running, or when did you start running on this competitive level? Because I know you've been not only running marathons, half marathons, marathons, but also ultra trails, marathons, for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, up to 100 kilometers, or let's say the miles like up to 100, 200, 300 miles. When did you start running on this competitive level, or actually finding this passion for it?
Well, so before I used to play field hockey, which was the sport that I've essentially been doing since I was young, since I was a child, essentially, and which I did throughout my whole academic career. And by the time I realized that I was unable to really kind of play hockey at like the level that I would like to play, and then realizing though that with work it's going to be quite hard to combine the two, I decided to stop playing hockey literally from now to then. Made that decision and said, be German about it and say, okay, I stop here and then focus on the job. But obviously, then that was back in 2013. So then I moved to Frankfurt. I started an internship, and then 2015 I moved to Madrid to study. At that time, I was kind of doing gym workouts, doing a bit of running, just keeping fit and healthy. But in Madrid, then one night I said, okay, I sign up for a marathon because I was essentially missing that idea of a competition. I didn't have a goal. So while I was training, I was just trained, but I would just train for the sake of it. And with that marathon in mind, I felt, okay, I could set myself a new challenge and I can train for this. And then I can compete, which is also something that I was obviously missing from hockey. And yeah, so 2015, essentially, I ran my first marathon in Madrid. In the summer, I went to Chamonix, and I happened to be there at the same time that where they started or had hosted this big run around Mont Blanc, which is the Ultra Trail de Mont
Mhm.
Blanc. And that moment, for whatever reason, was just incredible. And I said to the person in the hotel at the reception, I said, "Look, I'll be back in 3, 4 years, whatever, to run this race." And that was really the beginning. And yeah, so I kept running, and here we are today, 5 years in.
That is so great. So going back to your first marathon, can you remember your first marathon? Did you
That
so
was in
did you
Madrid.
so did you actually start with a half marathon first, or did you just went with like
Yeah.
sign up for the full thing?
No, so I did sign up for the full thing. I did sign up for the full thing, and I mean, frankly speaking, I knew how to run. I was kind of fit from hockey still, but obviously playing field hockey, that level of fitness is very different from running and running for that longer distance. And so when I started training, I was reading about it. I was asking some people about, how you prepare. And one of it was also to run a half marathon before. So if I recall correctly, I think the marathon took place at the end of April 2015. And then 1 month prior, I ran my first half marathon, also in Madrid. I recall the first half marathon, I actually woke up late, kind of sprinted to the start line and just was in this pack of 20,000, 25,000 people who just run 21K around Madrid. And it was absolutely incredible. And then, a month later, I ran my first marathon. There's this thing after 30K where you hit the wall, people call it, or like the hammerman comes or something, which I was aware of, I suppose, but then it literally came, and after 30K, it literally like hit this wall, and I was struggling, but kind of put myself back up, and then finish it up.
It's interesting because you didn't only, because there are people who have the target of, okay, once in my life I want to run a marathon. You did that, but somehow I would say you developed this passion for running, for marathons, and not even for marathons, but also take it to the next level. Not only doing the marathon, but not only doing this, but maybe doing a run which is 80 kilometers, or then going to the ultra trail in Mont Blanc, which is 170 kilometers, 106 miles. So you would say that obviously you developed this passion for this?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, look, when I did this, when I started it, it was literally just, I needed some goal that I could pursue, and something that gave me some sort of purpose, to be honest. Because, I think it takes some sort of something to look forward to and give you some reason for why you wake up in the morning and why you stand up and why you sit in that gym. And I was just missing this, because before it would be, to be fit on the hockey field and to play well and to perform well and, help my team, etc. But once that was gone, I wouldn't say I was like a headless chicken, to be honest, but you go to the gym and you just feel, okay, maybe I do it because I want to look good, or I want to stay fit and all that kind of stuff. But that wasn't something enough, I felt. And so with the marathon, that gave me something to compete. And to be honest, it was just, why did I then go so quickly into that ultra marathon? Was very much just, as I happened to be in Chamonix during the start of this race, I was just so fascinated, and I was absolutely caught by it. And I said, okay, I mean, I don't even know if I can call myself a runner today, but at that time I was nowhere near where I am today. And I just said, okay, I'll go for it. And I had no idea how to, train, prepare, like, let alone didn't even run one trail run before. But that definitely just gave me something as a purpose. And it meant like every session that I would do, I didn't have a plan that I was following specifically for trail running or for mountain running, but I'd be on the treadmill, or I'd be on the spinning bike, or even just at night doing dinner, and I would watch those videos and just get deeper and deeper into the stuff. And I knew, wow, this is really, really cool. And I get really stoked by it. And so really over time developed this trail running passion for it, I suppose.
Yeah. It's interesting that you bring this up for the physical training, that you would say, I would go to the gym, I would work on my core body fitness, on my legs, on my running habits, on my speed and all that, on my pace. But the other big chunk of this for marathons, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say is as big, if not even bigger, the mental preparation, right? For the race ahead, for the next race ahead, whether it's a marathon, an ultra marathon, whatever it is. But let's use the example of that ultra marathon race, where you were supposed to run 170 kilometers, 106 miles. So that's obviously something different in terms of preparation than for a marathon, I would say.
Right.
I would think.
Yeah, no.
So how did you mentally prepare for this huge target when you did it the first time?
Well, so when in 2015, I decided to do this, then let's, fast forward a little bit towards the end of 2015, where we didn't go out. I was just staying at home. And again, I was watching my YouTube videos, and then I came across Marathon des Sables, which is this race around the desert. It was like a 250K race through the sand in Morocco. And I just signed up for it. Like, again, at that time, I still hadn't run still hadn't run any kind of longer distance than, those two marathons. I just signed up for it. And because I had to qualify for UTMB. So that means you have to do certain races before to collect points and then be eligible to run around Mont Blanc. So what I'd like to say, this is like, I would then in 2016, I run my first 60K in April. Then I run a 48K around in Switzerland in, I think, August, September. I run my first 100K in Turkey in October. So I would slowly start getting into those longer distances, and I would experience certain things. So I remember, for instance, my first 60K in Italy, mentally I would just storm into it, and I had like a time in mind, and I was very focused on achieving this time. And again, like a 50K of, I think I started very well, like, but 30K into the race, I was like dying. I was like, oh my God, like,
Yeah.
Jesus, what am I going to do now? So, and that similar thing had happened with Marathon des Sables. And again, I put myself a time in mind, and I was very, very competitive. So what I want to say in this regard, it's like also first day, and I wanted to be placed top 50 or something. So first night was very nervous, very anxious, a lot of stomach ache, that etc. Didn't sleep well at all. First day in the desert, kind of run into it, very much focused on position and time. And I had a dreadful like first day. It's a multi-day race, so I think there are 4 or 5 days where you just run between 30 to 80K, and it was horrible. And so to come back to that mind point, after that first day where I was really suffering in the desert, I was like, look, what is this thing all about? Like, what do you want here? Like, does it matter whether I come 50th or 1000th? It very much doesn't matter at all. But it's my mindset, like what do I want to get out of this? And why am I doing this? And who am I doing this for? So mentally, that was a huge, huge shift for me at that time, where I was like, okay, I just want to enjoy this. And you take that pressure off you. And of course, mentally, then you are in a very different mindset. So over time, while running then Marathon des Sables, then I did other races, you obviously explore different levels of yourself, and you have to go through obviously ups and downs. You know, there are parts in the race where you feel horrendous, and then there are other parts where you get into this like flow state where everything is just going, and you just very much focus. You forget about everything else on the side. It's almost like a zen, like meditative state, and you just run. So obviously then coming to Mont Blanc, like I said, it's a lot of preparation mentally. And then the physical part is certainly one thing, which you have to put in. But the mental part then gets you through the deep end, you know, when you have to dig deep and you feel like you want to, well, give up, or you don't want to continue, etc. And that's, again, something you train. So an experience which you gain during the races.
Super interesting. And from what I'm hearing is that it was more like you would say, the competition with yourself, being a better version of yourself each time you run, right? Because you said, hey, for me, it didn't matter if I end up 10th place, 20th, 30th, the 500th place. But for me, it's important that I accomplish the race, or that I take part in this race, or that I'm better than my former self. Would you agree with this, or do you still have this competitive mindset of, no, you know what, I didn't sign up for just competing with myself. I also want to be the best amongst my fellow runners.
Mm-hmm. Look, that's something that I had to overcome, I suppose, to be quite frank, because I still had this competitive mindset at the start, very much so. You know, coming from that hockey where, again, different sport, but it's about winning, and you want to win, and you want to be the best. But I'm not a professional runner, and I'm not, you know, by no way I'm logging the kilometers that any professional runner does. Like, that's their profession. I got a different job that I'm doing on a daily basis. This is my hobby, I suppose. So I have to learn to be humble. And like you rightly said, it's just about myself and that experience and learning about myself. And that whole pursuit, you know, we can almost say it's about the journey and not the destination. So it's not just about that race in itself. Like, that's obviously when it counts, I suppose. But for me, you know, I do it because I enjoy it, and because I want to, and because I want to grow and learn as a person. And I've came to the point now where this, especially the longer ones, it's not about, you know, what place I get. Let's say if I run a marathon nowadays, like, there it's more competitive, and there I'm more competitive with myself. I want to get a certain target time, and, you know, but it's also more controlled. Like,
so
what's your
sorry to interrupt you, but I was curious, what's your best marathon time?
I run, I think, a 3:10 or something, 3:10, 3:11 um,
Wow.
in Sevilla in 2017.
That is impressive, man.
Different from the ultramarathons, eh? Like it's just, that's also a thing, I had to learn because it's also that expectation where I can't do everything. Like I wish I want to do my fast marathon and I want to go like sub 3, 250, something maybe in that direction. But my focus is on the long distance, and the long distance is
Okay.
more about the endurance and not about that fast running. So it's more about running for a longer time period.
So yeah, so as you would say 5 minutes ago, that the marathon right now for you, which is for you considered a shorter distance, that is there. It's really about the destination, I would say, about
Probably, yeah.
hitting the target, hitting the destination, and
Mm-hmm.
competing with others. Whereas those ultra marathons, long distance, huge distances, are more about, like you said, the journey and the
Very true.
process, the progress you made on this. Not even before and after that, but also during the race itself. And I'm curious, how did it turn out? Through what mental stages did you go, and what was the final result?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I completely agree to what you said. So, like, one is maybe more about that destination, about the final outcome. And I would be maybe more happy if I get sub 3 or sub X or whatever. But the other one is maybe more about that pursuit and the journey, right? And in fact, actually, the last 2 times where I tried running around Mont Blanc, I say tried, I was unable to finish. I was unable to finish the race because I started hallucinating, which is pretty mental. So I did it in 2018. So after, to be honest, first I was able to achieve my goals. 3 years later, after I told the receptionist, I told her I was back, and then 3 years later I was actually there, and I said, "Look, here I am, and there you go. Now I'm trying to run it." And I felt well, and then 135K somewhere in the race, and at that time because it's also mountainy, so it's like you got 8,000 meters of vertical gain at that time. I didn't know where I was, man. And I was seeing trees turning into people. I saw,
Wow.
rocks turning into skulls. I saw hotels along the way that didn't obviously exist in that mountain. I saw taxis that were supposedly picking me up, but obviously they weren't there either. So I was all over the place.
So let's get this right. So this race is 170 kilometers. You are
Mhm,
at 130, 140 kilometers, and you have 30 to 40 kilometers left to reach this
mhm.
huge goal that you have. How difficult was it for you to make this decision of, I have to, this time I have to quit. I have to call it a day. I can't go any further.
So the first year actually, because I got to this point and I was still in time, because you got certain time barriers which you have to hit, and I was still fine. I was still ahead of my time barrier, and I could continue if I wanted to, but I just didn't feel right. And essentially, also this idea whether it's you go surfing with the waves or you go skiing with the snow, and to a certain extent also with the running within nature, within the trails. I just had to accept, to be honest, that I was unable to complete it and finish it. As tough as it was at that time, but I remember being at the checkpoint where I said, "I'm out." And at that time, I'd already suffered through those hallucinations, and I was fighting myself up to that station. I was unable to walk. I was literally like stumbling around, not knowing where I was, and it was really crazy. And maybe thinking back, I could have maybe slept at that place a little bit, give it 30 minutes, 1 hour, and that would be fine. And also, I've started, after reading about this more now and telling my story, it's part of this thing. Like, because you go to this extraordinary length, there are other people that suffer hallucinations as well. And like the stories are somehow, I can relate to them. But again, that's also about experiences. I'd never suffered hallucinations. I had no idea what was going on. And then again, I had to realize, like, look, it's nature this time, and I cannot fight nature. And I just have to accept that this is not my day, and I'll continue. So that was 2018. And then I said, okay, because I had to do one more race to qualify because I was missing the points to be back in 2019.
Okay, so
So then yeah.
sorry to quickly interrupt you. In that moment when you quit the first race, how long did it take you to actually have this mindset of coming back and telling yourself, you know what, it didn't happen this time, it didn't work out
Mm.
this time, but I'm gonna for sure try it again. Were you already in this mindset of, okay, yesterday I failed, I couldn't finish, but today I'm already in this mindset of, okay, let's train even harder, and next time I'm gonna finish.
Mhm.
Or how long was this process?
Well, there were obviously a few down days, and I was devastated, and I was crying, and I was sad, and it was pretty tough, to be honest, because obviously I didn't make it. And I had my friends around, and then you start feeling maybe a little bit of guilt also, because everyone comes out and supports you, and you want to have a beer with them on the finish line and all that kind of stuff. But they were absolutely incredible. It was very, very touching and very, very special to have everyone by my side, especially at that time. And that also showed to me it's not about the destination, it's about that whole journey. That whole journey that I had done for 3 years, which I shared and which people participated in, and then came down. And I realized then, look, I gave it some time and some thought, and people said, don't do it again, etc. Or like said, you got this, like next time you'll be back. But I was very convinced, like quite shortly afterwards, that I want to do it again. So I had to make sure that I recover well. And then I was looking for races that I could run.
Yeah.
It was still in 2018, so I could qualify for 19. So I flew to Barcelona, run a run there, so I could come back in 19.
So you came back, you did the whole race again. What happened?
So I come back in 2019, and I was thinking that I had my lessons learned, and my lessons learned were 2018. I just didn't eat enough. So I was running out of fuel. And that also led to the hallucinations, obviously combined with maybe a bit of tiredness, because I didn't sleep throughout the whole
Right.
thing. And, you're running for 35 hours straight, plus that, you go start Friday night, essentially, you go through the night. It's Saturday, you go into the second night, and then you're supposed to arrive on Sunday in the morning. And so I told myself, okay, I'll eat more. And when I feel very tired, or when I sleepy, I even sit down on a rock and just close my eyes for 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And as well as some of the aid stations, I sleep for like 20 minutes. Just again, I wasn't, maybe the first year it was more about time still. I had something in mind. And the second year, it was again, just complete it. But, then I slept a little bit more. Most probably I was still struggling with nutrition. I was still not eating well enough, I guess. I was running much slower. There were parts where I was running faster. There were other compared to 18. And then there were other parts where I was running much slower. In total, I would also take longer. So I thought, okay, give myself more time. I rest if I need to, but probably I
And
still
then,
didn't eat enough.
yeah.
And so this time, 150K, Sunday morning, I remember seeing my dad. I remember telling my dad, look, Dad, sun is rising.
Yeah.
Let's just bring it home. Then I get up that second last hill, and then suddenly I got hit by those hallucinations, like out of the blue again. And now I thought I was in some sort of corporate run. I thought I was in a different race. And I was like, what the hell? Like, what am I doing here? I don't want to be here. So I kept 2 or 3 times, like in my hallucination state, I kept going up and down the mountain. I was like, oh man, I don't want to be here. But then I was like, okay, maybe I should be here, and I do it, etc. So I kept going, but eventually, yeah, I kind of continued, but I didn't know there were people running past me, and they said, come on, keep going. But I couldn't connect the dots. I didn't know what they wanted from me,
Yeah.
let alone I didn't know where I was. So at that time, I missed the time barrier, essentially, because I would just, walk very slow and just be maybe even sitting or falling asleep. I have no idea. But then I just missed the cutoff.
So you tried this ultramarathon the first time. You started hallucinating after having completed 2/3 of the entire race. You bounce back. You know what you've done wrong. You change something mentally, physically, nutrition-wise. You do it again, and then you somehow see that you won't finish it this time either. Like how could you process it mentally of failing not once but twice of this huge goal you set for yourself? Because for me, and this is not only applicable to running, because I've heard from people who tried different things they thought they could accomplish once, try 3 times, 4 times, and they always failed. And some people then start thinking, you know what, maybe in your case, running ultramarathons, maybe it's not my thing. Maybe my passion or my skill set lies in something else. So once you start failing a couple of times, people tend to have those trash talk about themselves. So what we end up doing actually is that we talk way worse about ourselves and about our
Right.
skills, then we will talk to other people, right? So especially when we have this experience of failure and multiple failures, we start saying to ourselves, man, maybe this is not for me. I failed twice, and I failed 3 times. Whether it's with starting a company, with running, with you name it, whatever it is, anything
Playing the
that's on a
guitar like you do now.
playing the guitar, and you just don't get there where you actually thought you would be by now. But at the same time, and I've learned this from my professor, Dr. Michael Gervais, and he said, you know what? Just make this epic thought list of yourself. Don't try to talk yourself down. Don't have this negative trash talk to yourself. But once you have this trash talk, actually, try to think about it. Is that a fact? You would say, I tried 2 times and I'm not suitable for an ultra marathon. Okay, is that a fact? Let's see. Okay, I tried twice. I failed. However, running is my passion and I'm actually pretty good at running. This is just this bigger goal that I couldn't accomplish. So the productive thought then would be, you know what? I can do it. No matter how many tries it takes, I can do it. And then you would back this up with experiences that would actually support your productive thought. So you'd say, you know what? I ran a marathon. I ran a marathon in a little bit over 3 hours. I ran multiple marathons. I ran distances 30, 40, 50, 60 kilometers. Who am I to tell myself I can do it? Even if I fail once or twice, even if I fail a third time, even if I fail the fourth time, this inner drive, inner motivation is really what makes the difference. And it starts within you, and it starts within yourself of your own productive or trash talk. So at the end of the day, it's really about you. Of course, we are influenced by so many other factors, but in the end, it's really about you, what you're telling yourself of how to accomplish the next bigger goal.
No, I 100% agree. And I mean, look, there are probably so many quotes out there and so many things that sound so cheesy and cliche, supposedly. Like, even if you just say, it's not about the destination, but the journey. But after all, it's very true. So there are two sides. I think first, let's say, starting from playing hockey, I lost many games, and I did many mistakes, and I even did mistakes that were pretty bad and like led to the defeat, etc. But the feedback loop you get from in playing hockey is very direct. And I spoke to a friend about this actually recently, where this idea of learning continuously and improving yourself continuously very fast makes you just better and growing, and you just keep going and keep doing. Same with the running, like those experiences. Of course, the races are, you got 3-4 races, like 2 big ones potentially that you do in the year, where you really can learn and you get your instant feedback, like with the UTMB, where I fell twice. But I'll improve and just get better, and like not just physically or as a runner in itself, but I suppose also as a person. And like I said, it's about the journey. Plus, then there's this thing where, look, certain things, like you spoke about this with the facts, I think earlier, I just have to accept. Like that race, I DNF'd, like I did not finish, which is the worst 3 letters that any runner wants to see. Yeah. But that's a fact. I cannot change it. It's just like raining or it's sunny outside. Do I go for a run? Like, it's up to me. And I cannot blame anyone else. I cannot blame the weather. I cannot blame anything. It's a matter of me doing it and trying to get it done. And I think, that makes me want to continue and makes me, want to continue doing this race. Let alone, I think there's also this thought where maybe I can draw the line here where, of course, I didn't finish UTMB twice in a row. And I kind of, I write my little blogs and stuff. And then someone, Niels, the guy of the Speed Project, with the co-founder of the Speed Project, which is like another run, read my story. And I actually read about the Speed Project, which is a long run from LA to Vegas beforehand. And it's a really cool event. And I didn't know, like, you have to have a team to sign up for it. I didn't have a team, etc. Suddenly, like, he sends me DM on Instagram because he read my story and he said, dude, it's pretty mental what you just did there. It sounds crazy. Do you want to do this run LA to Vegas? We want to do the first solo edition next year. I was like, crazy. Like, you literally just read about this thing a couple of days ago, or you saw videos and stuff, and you want to be part of this. And now you have to sign up, apply, etc. And now the guy himself sends you a message. I'm like thinking, look, of course I failed twice. Effectively, I failed twice. But it actually led to something else. So, it's a matter of turning defeat. What is defeat? It's learning, it's growth, and it makes you better. And, let's say, all my friends, the hockey players who are incredible, like some, play in
I
the
just, I just, I
Olympics,
just,
like,
I just want to stop you there for 1 second because I think I've read it yesterday. Literally what you just said, that failure or defeat plus reflection equals progress. And this is exactly what you said.
true.
You had this defeat, you had this
Yeah,
failure,
true.
you reflected, and you reflected once or twice. You learn from your mistakes, and this is where you then started making progress.
And you improve. And after all, also things lead to other things. And there is always some sort of reason behind it, whether you're able to connect the dots directly, or as that's also the Steve Jobs quote, kind of connecting the dots, only you cannot do it forward, but looking backward, like having that faith in what you do, it leads to something. And maybe sometimes a bit later, you don't know it immediately, other times a little bit you get it directly. So that's just what keeps me going. And I think especially like with now the speed project, which also had been canceled, which was supposed to happen in March, but again, I just got to keep going, and I got to keep doing to make myself happy and do the best I can.
This is a good way to wrap it up. I would love to really take a deep dive in this crazy race you were talking about from LA to Vegas, which is 310 miles, 500 kilometers, and this whole preparation for this, and then mentally processing it that it wouldn't happen because of the pandemic right now. And you also ran another 62 miles on a treadmill. You ran around the English Garden in Munich for 100 kilometers to raise money, to raise awareness for and help out small businesses. I would love to take a deep dive on this too, but hopefully we can have another discussion on this also. This really was such a valuable lesson for me too, especially in terms of also bouncing back and having this progress and accepting and embracing failure, like you said. So really appreciate the talk, buddy. And I know it's what's the time in Germany right now?
Normally Germans always have dinner at 5 or 6, so I passed that. I passed that line. It's 8 o'clock already. But okay. No, it's 8. Yeah, it's 8 o'clock, and so maybe time to watch some football. Again, thanks a lot for having me. It was really, really a joy. And look, to be honest, I'm just like anyone else, that's going to listen to this, and just like you. And I think whatever passion people have in general, I suppose, just go out there and do it and follow your pursuit, and know that whatever you do, it will all pay off in one way or the other. And we're all in this together. So thanks a lot for having me. And I'm looking forward to talking about future experiences on our next episode, hopefully.
Thank you, buddy. Take care.
Cheers. Bye-bye.